bodies that test together all the time, and this does mean we're going to be seeing a first for the day. It's going to be a Blacephalon
We were here.
GX deck from Zach Lesage. He has been piloting it throughout the Lost Thunder format and getting great results with it, obviously at the previous international championships as well, doing so well with Blacephalon, and he's carried on with it even at Cups and Regionals. He's just not put down the deck since it came out, so one of the most experienced and dedicated Blacephalon players out there, and he's going to come up against Caleb Gedemer, a very seasoned veteran as well, who's also done very well at the internationals and regionals as of late. Definitely two very experienced, well-known players, and they're going to be facing down against each other. Usually they're friends, testing together, coming up with ideas and sharing them, getting to these sorts of situations in tournaments all the time. But
all's fair in love and card games, Joe. Yeah. It's Valentine's Day in the United States, and we're playing some card games.
Yeah, there'll be no love lost.
Leave your friendships at the stairs up onto the stage, and then collect them as you exit.
Yeah, here we go. There's going to be Zach, a couple lilies in his prize cards, as well as one Let Loose Marshadow, which is definitely a little awkward for him. Let Loose is sometimes a big card to try and disrupt an opponent. We've seen it so often today. And it looks like Caleb, he's of course going to be playing, you know, one of these Zapdos variants. It's no surprise at this point. He's going to be playing the same 60-card list that many Americans have brought to this tournament. It feels like a lot of them have collectively come up with the deck. Caleb being one of these players, using the Oranguru as well as the Jirachi build in just a very heavy Zapdos-based lists with just the non-GX sort of package going on, and maybe one Tapu Koko GX as the only GX option for him. This could be awkward for Zach Lesage. It's one of these matchups, or Blacephalon's one of these decks that was a front runner in the Lost Thunder format, but many people thought it was a dying archetype or one that was much more risky, seeing as though there was this influx of Zapdos-based builds. Even more Malamar is a bit of a headache for Blacephalon at times, just because they can play a very non-GX game as well. People were sort of writing off Blacephalon, and Zach's proving that the archetype still has a lot of strength behind it.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how this archetype holds up in the face of the new hotness, which we've got here from Caleb Gedemer. I don't know. Will it stand up? I mean, it certainly has worked out for Zach Lesage today. He's, I believe, 5-1-1 going into round number 8 here. So with as much lightning as there is in the field, he has to have come up against it at some point.
Yes, he's not just been dodging and weaving for these last 7 rounds. He will have come up against them for certain. And Zach is also one of these players who puts a lot of time into the game, and he's not going to bring a deck like this to a tournament unless he knows that it can stand up to some of these new archetypes, because that's all there is in the field out there today. Yeah. So he must be prepared for those. Here's his turn 1 Let Loose.
Letting loose and limiting Caleb to just 4 cards.
Yeah, it seems pretty good. Caleb does at least have an Oranguru on his first turn. His turn wasn't stellar, but Zach's looks pretty more straightforward. He's still looking for energy attachments on this first turn, but he's got those few Poipoles down. That's always going to be important for him to continue to get attachments going, and Zach wasting no time at just using his Burst GX attack, and he's going to discard a Blacephalon GX, but he does at least initiate the prize race here.
Discard one of your prize cards. If it is an energy, you may attach it. And that's going to be just a Fire Energy and 2 Beast Rings in hand for Zach. Cannot use those for a bit, so we're going to see if he can maybe draw out of this rough hand that he has dealt himself by letting loose so early.
Caleb choosing to use the Guzma pre-instruct just to give himself an extra option to hit a lightning energy. Does miss though, and this is already an opening for Zach to start pulling even further ahead here. He's going to attach to his Poipole just to retreat it out, and he can go into his Blacephalon GX. It might just be as simple as a bursting burn. I think the Let Loose has done awkward stuff for both players here.
Get those burn tokens out. It's not every day you see them.
Yeah. We may not have them on the stream table. Fortunately, Zach's prepared. We have
seasoned veteran.
Yeah.
We provide the GX counters.
That's just about it, it looks like. But he's got the poison one in the background as well. He's doing us a solid. But yeah, getting that 20 guaranteed damage. Looks like Caleb flipped tails, so he's confused and is still burned. He's got himself a Jirachi, another Guzma in his hand. He can lower his hand size again and try and do an instruct, but it's not ideal for him. Once again, just missing out on energy cards right now. The deck only plays 8 lightning energies, so this is a small opening again for Zach. If it's another slow turn, Caleb going to instruct for 1, and there is a lightning. That's a huge pickup. He can take the prize on this Poipole now. And yeah, that's a big hit from him. 1 card off instruct, but it was enough.
Suddenly, just like that, Caleb is finding himself in a really good spot here because Zach has not been able to pick up anything other than more fire energy.
Yeah, couple fire energy, couple B-string. That's all he's holding. It's going to be another bursting burn here. He's putting these Zapdos into, you know, a 2 lost zone range with the bursting burn. Oh, sorry, with the mind blown. So this is relevant damage, even though he's not doing too much. He's at least trying to set up these Zapdos from Caleb's end. And if Caleb is going to try and take another sort of cheeky 1 prize on a Poipole or a Marshadow, Zach would be in B-string range, and he could just try and let this 1 Blacephalon carry him for a few turns. But until then, it's going to be it's going to be pretty rough for him.
I mean, the second that Zach's able to find a Cynthia or Erica's Hospitality or a Lily, like suddenly his game plan gets ramped up very, very quickly. But I love when players are playing with the absolute best that their deck has to offer and the absolute worst. And the first couple of turns, I mean, this was just not what either player was looking for. But with just a single lightning energy from Caleb, suddenly things are looking a lot better for him. And Zach is going to have to mind blown there to knock out the Zapdos and hopefully pick up something good from the prizes.
That's really what he's hoping for. It looks like he's finally got himself a Lily at least. Caleb was able to flip heads on Confusion and with Kukui do 30 damage to this Blacephalon. It feels fairly inconsequential for now, but we know that there's so many random damage buffing cards in Caleb's list. It may end up coming into being really helpful for the rest of this turn. We're going to see Caleb use another Nest Ball here. Looks like he's grabbing Zapdos number 4, it would be, straight onto the board. He's saying that 1 Jirachi is going to be enough for him right now. And he's again looking for energy cards. Oh no, he has Thunder Mountain Prism Star. That can get him there. He's got himself Choice Band and Electro Power. That's an extra 60 damage burst.
So
that's 140.
140 damage, just 10 shy of being able to knock out the Blacephalon.
So he can instruct for 1. Oh wow, he's going to put the Shrine in and just go for it. He just wants lightning energy. Nope. It was the greedy play.
Man. If he'd hit it though, I mean, that would have just...
He has the Tapu Koko Prism Star, but you can't use its ability when it's in the active position. So, yeah, Caleb going for the potentially greedier line here. Could have guaranteed some damage and put the Shrine down later.
Yeah, but I mean, seriously, when you see a line of play that just takes away everything that your opponent has available to them and potentially just wins you the game, I think it's correct to go for it. It was risky, yes, but had it paid off, he would have looked like a genius.
I think with so many supporters as outs still in his deck, as well as physical lightning energy, as well as like Volkners and extra switch cards just to have another chance with the Jirachi, like there were a lot of outs there. So although it was only 2 draws, it felt like, well, at least Caleb believed that his odds were favorable. Zach's able to bounce the Shrine of Punishment straight away, getting himself an Ultra Space, eyeing up another Blacephalon here. He's happy to just keep 1 Poipole instead. Maybe he's just saying, yeah, Caleb, I'm holding on to B-strings, man. Just let me use them. But no, he is going to think twice about it and get himself a Naganadel here. He does have, I don't actually believe he has many Fire Energy in his discard pile. He's just been lost zoning them early.
Yeah. So
it's really just trying to keep it for later, for when he's using more... oh, he's going to Choice Band his Naganadel just for more draws off the Lily here.
He does find 2 additional fire energy. He's playing 16 energy, so it's a very energy-heavy deck, and it has to be when you're using an engine that puts so many of them into the Lost Zone.
He's eyeing up an Ultra Ball now, just trying to maybe get some charging up value from the back here. He's going to actually get rid of a B-string in order to do so. He's already got a Poipole in his hand, so he's not really going to be searching one of those out. Maybe it's just another backup Blacephalon. Could be his play here.
Especially with that second B-string in hand, he's probably going to want another Blacephalon to get going when Caleb inevitably is forced to put him down to 3 or 4 prizes. It also could be a bit of a bait.
Yeah, that's
discarding
potentially
one of the B-strings and making Caleb feel a little bit safer than he is.
Zach's back into a supporterless hand, though, and his turn is going to be most likely just Bursting Burn again. Just trying to put some prerequisite damage on the Oranguru. He can't... Well, it would be all 3 energy that has to go if he's going to take the knockout here. So let's see what route he wants to go for. There's the charging up. So he could get rid of all 3 to take 1 prize, or he could... Wow, he's going to bench his Poipole. And looks like he's going to go for it. Yeah, he wants to take the prize. I guess Caleb is drawing suboptimally. Let's just try and take the prize now. Also, the fact that he had a Tapu Lele and a Marshadow in his prize cards pretty much made him more inclined to go for that prize because he had such good odds of getting out of this awkward hand. I think that's what he was going for with his Ultra Ball that turn.
Tapu Lele, Lily, and the Marshadow.
Those
so
are the 3
last that he would have loved to have hit. I didn't actually see what he pulled out of the prizes, but an artful dodge if he didn't get something that draws some cards.
That's pretty rough for him. Zach kind of going all in, thinking that he had like at least a 75% chance of getting a great card off the prize.
This is one of the few decks that is not choosing to run the new Jirachi that you see up on the screen there. And you can see how much consistency that Jirachi provides and how Zach is struggling a little bit to find that consistent support here without that engine.
We're going to see Electro Power, Shrine of Punishment, Instruct
Second
for 2
Electro
cards.
Power in hand.
We have the Stellar Guidance, the Stellar Wish. And there's going to be a switch now. So with Tapu Koko Prism Star, his Zapdos is going to be coming in if he wants to take some prize cards and try and square up this prize trade, because Caleb has had a few slow turns himself here, and he needs to keep up with the prize race. Here is the Dance of the Ancients. 2 Lightning Energies coming onto 2 different Zapdos, as you can see. He's already played 1 Electro Power this turn. There's 40 damage already on Blacephalon. He's going to switch into the Zapdos with Choice Band, and he can simply go for a Thunderous Assault here for 2 prize cards. Zach is holding on to B-String and 1 other prize card, which we're not sure of right now. But Caleb's going to get into that B-String range and just try and race from now on.
He's doing a good job of it. Zach's still only 3 prizes remaining, so this B-String is going to provide some much-needed support here. But his hand is dry.
And he's on his turning point turn, so he's happy to B-String onto his active here. He can, his hand is just energy cards, so he really just needs to attack this Zapdos with the non-GX right now.
Do you think he knows that you can play a supporter card every turn?
I think, well, his prize cards have not helped him out at all here. But just more energy cards attached to Blacephalon, and Swing seems to be the play here. Now he's guaranteed a good draw from his prize, at least.
This does just continuously seem to be the way that fire decks operate. Ton of energy. Try and just channel it as much as you possibly can and hope that you can keep drawing cards. But whether you're playing Volcanion or Blacephalon, sometimes you are just going to end up with a bunch of energy in hand and no way to get it out.
Yeah, Zach does only play the 4 Cynthia, 2 Erica's Hospitality, and 2 Lily, so he could be playing a lot more draw supporters. It's just when he went for a sort of mid-game Ultra Ball and was like, oh, there's actually not my second Marshadow or my Tapu Lele. And then I guess I have no options.
And then he expended so much into knocking out the Oranguru and did not pick up the Tapu Lele or the Marshadow from the prizes.
It was good tempo play from him, especially because the prizes were so likely to give him a good draw card afterwards. You'll see 1 more Instruct here. Caleb's getting a lot of use out of his Oranguru. He's even brought it back with the Rescue Stretcher in order to do so.
He's double Electro Powered this turn. He's got Guzma and Escape Rope in hand. And that Shrine of Punishment damage is continuing to add up a little bit. So there's going to be...
He retreated his Jirachi, just to confirm. He chose not to use Stellar Wish and just used it as a 1 retreater in order to take out the Naganadel here. And Caleb, down to 2 prize cards, just needs to deal with this last Blacephalon that's already taken a good couple damage counters thanks to Shrine of Punishment. Zach is finally able to use Wonder Tag and get himself a supporter here. He's already got his manual attachment. B-Strings are no longer available, so he's not going to find it difficult to knock out this Zapdos as long as there's energy in his discard pile.
It's just 3 Cynthias in the deck.
It's just whether this Blacephalon going down to 140 hit points is tanky enough. Now that Caleb has spent quite a few Electro Powers in his previous turn, maybe Zach could get away with this GX Pokemon being out of range here.
I do believe at least 3 Electro Powers have been used by Caleb, as well as a Choice Band or 2, so it's possible that he's going to need to take a couple turns to knock out the Blacephalon for game. And in that time, I mean, Zach could close this out. He did finally draw some cards here. And this is the amount of pressure he's been able to put on with having a supporter only a couple of times this game. Now imagine if he'd been able to draw cards every single turn and consistently do what he wants to do with the deck. I mean, we've seen him charge up like twice.
And he's going to now Mysterious Treasure out another Poipole. I think he still has Energy Switch available to him, so he could take all 3 energies once again to the Lost Zone with Mind Blown to knock out this Zapdos, and then he'd be looking to find Energy Switch to close the game as long as his Blacephalon can tank 1 more hit from Caleb. Looks like he's got Choice Band as well. That's not going to be too impactful right now. But 3 more energies going to the Lost Zone. Zach Lesage just 1 prize card away from closing out this first game here. Shrine of Punishment ticking back over onto Blacephalon and onto the Tapu Lele. Caleb has Escape Rope, Nest Ball, Guzma.
And Thunder
Not many
Mountain.
pieces. Thunder Mountain. Energy Lotto as well. He's a little... Well, none of the pieces right now are combination pieces. He needs to find the whole gang, the whole slew of choice bands.
He's got quite a few ways to search, though.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
Nest Ball to thin the deck and then start utilizing Stellar Wish, maybe get the hand thin enough to be able to instruct this turn, find a draw supporter. It's possible he can get it done this turn.
He still has lots of switches as well. He's only just been using like the odd escape board here and there, and none of them have really been on Jirachis in the first place anyway, so he could be using all 3 Jirachis this turn.
So the number is 140, and I believe he does have... Well, I mean, this is going to come down to, does he have another Electro Power and a Choice Band that he can find and play this turn?
I think he's just a little short here.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he had to spend 2 Electro Power into Zach's Naganadel last turn, and that's going to put him in bad shape for the amount of resources remaining to him. We're going to see the first Stellar Wish from Caleb. And honestly, well, Caleb doesn't have any way to disrupt Zach's hand. So as long as he can't win this turn, Zach just needs to try and dig for something like, well, he's already got the Beast Energy in his hand, and then it would be charging up and Energy Switch would be the game.
This is a not-so-stellar wish here.
It's been a long... well, it's round 8. I mean, it was going to happen eventually.
I mean, the Kukui adds 20, but it's not going to help you hit the 140.
Yeah, he's just going to... He needs to see more cards. He needs to get the Cynthia here. He's going to manually attach to his Zapdos. That 20 damage that Zach put on earlier with just his Bursting Burns is going to be coming up trumps as well. We're going to see an Escape Rope here from Caleb.
Okay.
Is Zach going to be brave enough to bring up something like the Naganadel? I think that might be a reasonable play, because he could charging up and retreat, and then if he gets a second Naganadel, he could just charge up for the attachment that way. So
you might as well put a 1-prize Pokemon in the active. Caleb does need to get 2 prizes to win the game.
Well, Zach's holding on to Naganadel as well.
Yeah.
So there's... Oh, no, it's a Poipole in his hand. So he would need to still search with Lily, but...
Okay.
I think this makes the most sense, because Zach's just not feeding a prize card to Caleb if Zach was able to or unable to close the game next turn. This just gives him even more time. Caleb's going to pick up another switch here from a second Stellar Wish.
Use as many Jirachi as he can on this turn.
He's got even more escape ropes. This is a really escape rope heavy build.
If there's a bounty for who plays the most escape ropes in a single turn, he can win it right here.
All 3 could have been played this turn if he wants to. Keep Zach on his toes.
Just because he can.
But it feels like, well, Zach could just go straight back into the Blacephalon if he's feeling confident. You've got to think, if it was good enough for Caleb to escape rope in the first place, it's got to be good enough for me now. But instead, he's going to go Poipole. Now it opens up Caleb to take 1 prize, but I guess Zach's feeling confident enough that he can close the game as long as 1 prize is sacked.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much where we're sitting right now.
1 more Stellar Wish from Caleb. We know he has more switch cards already in his hand. He could find more switches. Or Nest Ball.
He's going to take the switch.
Wow. That's, yeah, he's been saving up for this turn, and he just finding more switch cards isn't ideal. I think he's just run a little too dry on resources.
He's trying to make it happen, and you got to applaud him for that.
All Stellar Wishes gone at this point, and definitely no way for him to knock out the Blacephalon GX that I can see. Just going to be a switch into Orangaroo, having 120 hit points, means that Zach, even with a Beast Energy, can't knock out the active. He's essentially forcing a Guzma from Zach. You can see a Choice Band as well from Caleb, and passing it over to Zach. There's going to be some Shrine of Punishment damage that might be enough to push Caleb next turn, so forcing Zach to have Guzma, which is actually picked up, but he also needs... Oh, it was a Naganadel. Okay.
Not a Poipole.
Not a Poipole. So he's got the Blacephalon Beast Energy that he can play down. Going to see the Lily now.
5 fresh cards.
He's got the one charging up available. It looks like it's not going to be perfect for him this turn. He can throw the Shrine out the way. Yep, that's for certain. He could use the Ultra Space as well if he wants to thin the deck any further. But it doesn't look like there's many other options. We're going to see the Ultra Space.
He's just got to pass it back.
He's going to scout what's in his deck. Still more energy cards.
He doesn't have any Pokemon remaining in the deck, it looks like.
He can't thin any further. He just has
Mysterious Treasure to discard?
Yeah, just for more charging ups potentially. He's also got a Beast Ring in his hand that's doing nothing at this point in the game either. Sax is trying to lower his hand size as much as he can. It's something you always need to try and do. Even he must have seen this sort of American build of Zapdos Jirachi at this point. Yeah. It's been around the table so much, but there's no telling that Caleb didn't just put one Marshadow into his build to be different or whatever. So you may as well play around it when you can. There's no downside to just playing the Mysterious Treasure in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, deck lists are not open.
For sure. I'm going to see charging ups from Zach here. Is Caleb's board full? Caleb's board is 4 Pokemon, because there's the risk of a Tapu Koko GX coming down now as well, with all these charging ups.
That's fair.
We're going to see the retreat.
What's he going to go into?
It's going to go... Wow, I think it's... This is a rough rough call for him. He's going to go into the damage Blacephalon, saying, don't Guzma this, Caleb. But Caleb's still holding on to more escape ropes anyway. So he has the escape rope Guzma line. There's 50 damage, so Caleb again not quite there at the moment. Got lots of Jirachi abilities to use though.
But I mean, what does he have left in the deck that he can really work with?
I really need to see him look for his discard pile once again to see how many Electro powers he has left.
I think it's number 1. At most 1.
I think 1, yes. Yeah. 1 is enough if he can get there. He's holding on to Escape Rope Guzma, so he can guarantee extra Jirachi uses. Here's Stellar Wish number 1. Professor Kukui.
Okay.
But his only other switching card in hand is the Escape Rope.
So if he uses Kukui, he can't guarantee that he can knock out the Blacephalon, even though now he does have the 130 damage with that Zapdos.
And looks like it's really not falling into place for him. Spending all those switch cards of the previous turn to dig, and then spending them again this turn is a little awkward.
I mean, if he just held a single switch, this game would be over.
Yeah, I feel like he had to play all the switches though last turn to try and dig the game.
Yeah.
Because he would be in the same spot anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be kind of the line that he's taken this game, is just go for it when you can, and if it doesn't work out, evaluate later.
Here comes Escape Rope. Is his Naganadel his safest Pokemon to bring up here? Choice Band is giving a +30 bonus already. There's Shrine potentially. Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be this 130 hit point non-GX. The only real fear would be something like a Thunder Mountain and a Tapu Koko GX coming out now.
We do see the Thunder Mountain in hand for Caleb, but we've not seen the Tapu Koko GX. It is in the deck.
Yes, it's definitely in deck. There's a Rescue Stretcher.
Or a Lily. What's
Lily can't be the... Yeah, it's got to be the Rescue Stretcher that gets played. Or at least taken for now.
Yeah, something that he can actually do this turn.
I don't see a great way. There's no... It was big from Zach to bounce the Shrine of Punishment last turn. And Caleb unable to find one himself. We are going to see the Guzma get played on the Tapu Lele GX.
Okay. So pull it up and try to take this 2-hit knockout here if Zach can't get the Lele out.
Yeah, it forces, once again, it forces Zach to have energy switch because Zach has to commit his manual attachment to the active, or it forces a Guzma as well. Either will do. Guzma energy, and that's exactly what Zach has. That closes the game. That was really strange back and forth. Caleb spending a lot of his resources just to take one prize knockout on the Naganadel really helped Zach survive the late game there. He was not able to use many B-strings, just one, but 130 hit points once all those electro powers are spent. It's a lot to dig deep for when you're then having to deal with Blacephalon afterwards, and Zach was able to steal a really nice win there.
Yeah, that was really quite strange considering how slow of a start Zach got off to. I mean, but once he was able to find a single Cynthia from that Tapu Lele, I think he had like 2 prize cards remaining at that point. It was just always consistently a little bit too much for Caleb to deal with, a little bit too out of his reach. And that's a shame because it looked like that should have been a game that he was able to take quite convincingly. But Zach gonna actually get a win here in game number 1, and Blacephalon proving to be potentially still a good choice at this level of play. And even in a field with so much lightning power, Zach has taken a strategy that is really unconventional, and it's paying off for him.
And game 1 was just let loose. That was the story of game 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
Both of them were scrabbling around. It's just Zach's scrabbling was a little bit better than Caleb's.
That's a hand.
He's got himself... It's actually really not a bad hand, I think. He had lots of energies. You can pitch them early, and you're not too sad about that as long as you can get Tapu Lele. GX, there's a couple Guzma in his prize cards, which is a little awkward. He plays 3 copies. I think he has Ultra Ball and Ultra Space, so I think his turn 1 won't be too shabby.
Does he have the Ultra Space?
I think among all those fire energies, that's
all I'm
what
seeing is a world on fire here.
Yeah. Caleb's going to kick off, though, obviously. Just a Professor Kukui. He, once again, is not in great shape. He does have himself a Nest Ball, though, now. Maybe going to start digging out some Jirachi. And that's, of course, what he is going to go for here. The deck has such a higher win rate when you actually lead the Jirachi just to get 3 Stellar Wishes, and you can save the likes of switch cards in your hand. And for Caleb, he actually has no switching option at all here. Just having to pass it straight over to Zach. Really awkward turn for him.
Zach does have that Ultra Space amongst all the fire energy. Good catch, Joe. And he's going to be able to Ultra Ball away 2 of those fire energy right away. Start picking up Blacephalon and Naganadel to be able to get this game out the gate a little bit faster than he did last time. It's looking like things might be more consistent for him here, but probably going to try and look for that Tapu Lele GX to Wonder Tag for a supporter this turn.
That's got to be what he's looking for. He does actually have the Marshadow as well. Tapu Lele GX might be in his prize cards.
He's only got the 1 in the deck.
Yeah, and we see he can use Ultra Space. He could get a manual attachment onto a Blacephalon this turn. Already 1 Poipole coming down, and then let loose when you only have 1 card in hand. That's not too shabby. Instead, he's looking up another Poipole here.
Okay.
Not wanting to commit GXs onto his board. Maybe he's thinking that just these early Nagas can help carry him through the game. Just let loose. Bailing Caleb out to some extent here. You see a Kukui Nest Ball pass and still choosing to let loose just because potentially of awkward prize cards from Zach.
Yeah, I mean, that is unfortunate. You're only running a single copy of the Tapu Lele GX. It's unlikely that it ends up getting prized, but it certainly can happen. And unfortunate that it's happening in such an impactful series here, but we'll see if Zach can find his way out of this awkward situation. He let loose it into a hand that does not have any draw supporters yet again, looking a lot like game number 1. But hopefully this Ultra Space will stay in play and allow him to pull out that Blacephalon next turn, or maybe even a Naganadel.
Caleb still missing just energy at the moment. That's the only piece of his puzzle that he's looking for. He can Stellar Wish right now, maybe get himself a draw supporter. There's a Cynthia. That looks pretty reasonable.
Skateboard's so tempting too, though. We do see Shrine of Punishment in Caleb's hand, so that Ultra Space is not going to be sticking around.
Yep, this looks pretty promising from Caleb. The let loose definitely doing better for him than it did for Zach. We're going to see the Jirachi come into play. Caleb choosing to hold onto his Stadium might be a saving grace for Zach here, to be honest. I can see that the Stadium War is always something to keep in mind. Zach playing 2 copies of Ultra Space as well as 1 copy of Heat Factory Prism Star. Caleb playing the Shrines. He wants to make sure that he can win out the war at the end. And when there's no GXs on Zach's side of the field right now, it's not hugely impactful.
Yeah.
So it does make sense as long as, well, we know Zach's hand and how bad it is, but Caleb obviously doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb has to assume that Zach has a Cynthia in hand or a Lily, something that can draw him into additional Pokemon, but we know that Zach really needs that Ultra Space right now. So Caleb's going to take a knockout onto the Marshadow and get this prize battle off to a good start here.
Zach's got the Marshadow that he could just simply retreat out of. Instead, he's eyeing up the Poipole. He gets himself another B-string. He does get the Ultra Space. Maybe he's just going to bring up maybe another Zapdos with Guzma and use maybe a Burst GX or a Bursting Burn play. We saw him utilizing Bursting Burn for math fixing a lot in the first game. It's got to be a strategy he goes for again, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, usually you want to Burst GX first thing just to get one of your prizes out of the way, and because there's no other GX attack that you want to use with this deck. But if he can maybe slow things down a little bit, then maybe he could save Burst GX for later on.
He's holding on to just B-strings and Guzma. Wow, Let Loose is such a
buzzkill sometimes.
It's such a buzzkill. Yeah, it's a pretty YOLO play at times. And especially when he had no other Marshadows or Tapu Leles to fall back on. Normally you feel relatively comfortable doing it when you have your own Mysterious Treasure outs and Ultra Ball outs and such, but Zach just going to go ahead and bring up one of those chunky Zapdos.
Hey.
And he hits himself Fire Energy at the very least. That could be a huge difference in this game here.
That actually is incredibly impactful.
Yeah.
Unless he were to draw a draw supporter and then draw into energy next turn, or just straight up draw an energy off the top, he wasn't going to be able to potentially use Mind Blown on the following turn. So that is a big, big hit for him.
Gonna see Caleb try and respond here. He's got himself a Lily for what looks like 4 cards. Does he have any switching options? Again, I think he's missing
He's got
those pieces.
Looks like he might have a Guzma.
Yeah, just Lily though, so he's just gonna have to send it back over to Zach. He is.
It's too slow for
wow,
him. He
really,
does not
really,
want to be passing these turns like this.
Really awkward for Caleb. They play so many escape ropes and switch cards. It's devastating that the Lily doesn't get him there.
We saw them last game,
Yeah.
all at one time. So it's a little bit unusual that he doesn't have access to any of them right now. But Zach does pick up a Cynthia.
Well,
Be able to get a fresh 6 cards. It was bound to happen eventually.
it was looking pretty grim, and then he's able to once again Ultra Space to another Nag, and he can Cynthia into a fresh 6, get himself out of those B strings, and maybe look for more manual attachments and more ways to discard Fire Energy to get as many charge ups as possible to really try and get over Caleb's army of Zapdos.
Finds another Poipole, couple energy, some additional draw support, and he is just going to go ahead and charge up.
Seems like a really reasonable turn for Zach. Just extra attachments is all he needs to do now. He's, starting to pull ahead like he did in game 1. Manual attaches to his Naganadel, and going to see the Mind Blown, 3 energy, having to be committed to the loss zone, but he is able to take his second prize of the game.
2 Guzma, a B-string, and a Mysterious Treasure still in the prizes for Zach.
Caleb going to go ahead, grab himself Nest Ball here. Looking at an Absol, it's really not all that important in this matchup. Yeah, he's going to think better of it and go for that Oranguru. Seeing as though Zach can always just retreat with Naganadels anyway. Absol not for this matchup, but he does get to thin an extra card before his Stellar Wish to look for 5 new ones and see if there's any more draw support available to him there.
Picks up potentially a Lily or an Escape Rope.
Escape Rope's the pick for him.
He's been stranded for now a couple turns without access to Switch or Escape Rope, so finding one finally is a little light in the dark here.
Caleb eyeing up another Zapdos. He's just going to go ahead and use Guzma on Poipole while it's still just 70 hit points. He doesn't want Zach to get more and more of these evolving up, because we saw how awkward it was for him to deal with them in game 1.
Yeah, that 130 is actually quite difficult for Caleb to reach, especially if he uses his Electro powers a little bit inefficiently.
It's almost like a bait from Zach. Caleb doesn't mind doing it if it's a Professor Kukui plus an Electro Power, but if it's 2 Electro Powers, it can just make these Blacephalons too tanky at times. And that's how Zach was able to win in the first game. And Caleb now taking that prize, putting Zach into B-string turns. So let's see how many energies can flood this board. He was holding on to 2 for the longest time, Cynthia'd his way out of them, and now he's got to try and Cynthia back into them. His hand is full of supporters right now.
Yeah, he's got 3 Cynthias right here, so looking for as many B-strings as he can get his hands on right now.
B-strings, counter stadium, especially if it's something like a Heat Factory Prism Star to help you draw more cards. These are the things Zach's dreaming of with this Cynthia.
These are the power turns for Blacephalon. This is the reason why you choose to play this deck.
And because he was the one initiating the prize race, he's forcing Caleb to keep toe-to-toe with him, taking a prize here and there. And it allows Zach to just get even further ahead, at least with energy attachments, as long as he can run into some B-strings. Oh. None there.
That was such an important 6 cards for him, and he just does not get there.
That's a big problem.
If Caleb really can knock out Blacephalon on the next turn, he can completely dodge the B-string turn from Zach.
We're going to see Zach continue to drop down 70 hit point Poipoles as well, which is sometimes a lifeline for Caleb, but he's recognizing how important this Naganadel can be when they do evolve. They are so awkward for Caleb, so he's running a bit of a tightrope at the moment. He at least has enough energy to take another prize here, but missing B-strings is a big problem for him.
It feels really bad. You wait the entire game for your opponent to put you into that B-string turn, and the second they finally do, you're like, yes, my plan has finally come to fruition, and then you just fall flat on your face and don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, Blacephalon,
it hurts.
It's one of the only decks that doesn't have some sort of backup draw engine behind it. It's just based on Let Loose and your raw supporter cards.
No Jirachi, no Acrobikes.
Yeah. And Zach is living and dying by hitting B-strings off of those supporter cards, and at this point, it's a big miss. He's still able to take a prize, though, and it's over to Caleb to see if maybe he can reach on this Blacephalon this turn or not.
I do believe he did pick up B-string from the prizes there.
Okay, so as long as Caleb can't knock out the active, Zach could still get use out of it, but if Caleb is able to reach with a lot of electro powers, there's already a choice band on his Zapdos in the back. There's also the Tapu Koko Prism Star in his hand. He could even do some plays alongside his own Tapu Koko GX, which didn't come out in the first game. But he's eyeing up Ultra Ball that's in his first Stellar Wish here, or potentially Lily. These are the things he's trying to play through his head. How many cards can he instantly play? And he is going to go ahead and grab Lily. Looks like that's going to be his ideal supporter to draw the most cards here. Not content to take just the one prize. Instead, he's going to try and look to Lily and take more.
That seems to be consistent with the way we've seen Caleb play over the last couple games.
He's got himself a skateboard.
He's a risk taker. I like it.
And I think he's respecting Zach as well. They're good friends. They know each other, and they know that Caleb needs to keep up. He knows that Zach won't just miss a beat. As long as Caleb doesn't keep up, he'll just end up losing the game. So Caleb's just saying, yeah, I need to keep up with Zach here. I can't let him continue to get ahead. But if I can get rid of B-strings, I'm going to be in a much better spot.
One Electro Power this turn, and a Lily for 4 cards. Tapu Koko Prism on the bench means that Caleb has access to 2 energy from the discard.
Looks like he didn't get any extra damage buffs from the Lilies. They've been a little bit awkward for him overall. He has more switching and escape. Oh, he does get an Electro Power. Wow.
Okay.
Well, he's in business.
Spicy, and there's a choice band on the Zapdos already. That's gonna do it.
Yeah, knockout, perfect math with the Shrine of Punishment. Goes down to 2 prize cards now. Zach with 1 energy on his Naganadel. Luckily for him, it's the he's taken 3 prizes, so he can charging up, and 1 manual attachment can at least respond on the Zapdos, but he's currently got, you know, some 70 hit point liabilities on his board that he needs to try and deny from Caleb at this point onwards. And as soon as this Naga has taken its prize, Zach's going to need to look for things like Beast Energy, so that the 80 damage output gets pushed to 110 to deal with the future Zapdos army. Zach going to go ahead and grab himself that final Naganadel, and he's got Lily and Erica's Hospitality, a new supporter from Team Up, which allows you, if the Erica is one of a 5-card hand or less, you're able to play her, and she can draw you a card for the amount of Pokemon your opponent has in play. So in this case, Caleb with a full bench, you can get 6 cards off the Erica's Hospitality. So you're really trying to capitalize on when people get their full setup going. You can dig deep into your deck. There's also a counter stadium in Heat Factory, which can help him dig even further into the deck if he wants to. Here it comes. Such a great Prism Star Stadium. Pre-team up, it was probably the most popular Prism Star Stadium. Now it seems to be, you know, the second or third choice in decks.
It's so pivotal to this deck as well because Zach's not running those backup draw cards like Jirachi and Acrobike, for instance. Just being able to discard a Fire Energy and draw 3 cards immediately is it's absolutely insane.
Zach's going to continue to discard even more Fire Energies. It feels like his deck is always finding those energies at the wrong times. And when you can't B-string, you can't thin your deck as well. It's like a double-edged sword, really. Or not even that. It's just a
sword.
Yeah, just a sword. You're just falling on the sword if you miss your B-strings because your deck is also still just way clunkier, full of energy cards, and that's what he's drawn into here. No Beast Energy in sight. He doesn't need it this turn, but it's the big thing that he needs to hit next turn.
He is going to charge up. Plenty of energy in the discard for him to utilize here.
All the Nagas are going to have to carry him for these last 3 prize cards. No problems taking this knockout. But it's Caleb only needs to take 2 prize cards now. Zach trying to even up the prize trade. But there's the potential for maybe even something like a Tapu Koko GX to come down from Caleb for his last prize. As long as Caleb can dig for his final few Electro Powers and take the knockout this turn, he's going to feel pretty reasonable about his spot here.
Finds the Nest Ball off of the Stellar Wish that can fetch the Tapu Koko GX. If it's there.
I think it might be in his hand, actually. Yeah. He's just going to go ahead and grab another Jirachi. Feels like that might be his last Pokemon in his deck as well.
Yeah, I think it is.
So it looks like Caleb's got Guzma in hand, so his route is just going to be Guzma with the Zapdos, knock out Marshadow, and then he can use his Tapu Koko Prism as well as the GX to just take the last prize next turn. It feels like he's pretty well set up here. Zach's already gone through his Marshadows, so he can't get his hand disrupted at this point, I don't think.
Yeah, it's looking like, because Caleb can just play down the Tapu Koko GX next turn, move all the energy onto it, and then immediately get a knockout with...
whatever he wants.
Yeah, really, whatever he wants. Sky High Claws,
Sky
I mean,
High
Tapu
Claws,
Thunder, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, whatever he chooses. If he wants to get more damage on just for his own personal stats, he can, but...
Damage dealt in game. Hey, PGCGO makes it very noticeable what your MVP was.
Yes, exactly. That runs through our heads too when we play it in tournaments.
Yeah. You got to keep mental notes of, you know, what potentially to cut.
Caleb trying to burn as many switch cards and get as many Stellar Wishes off as possible, trying to set himself up even further if he can. He's going to pick up another Escape Rope as well. I can't see him not using Guzma on Marshadow this turn, though. There's surely no way.
Set up there for that
final
prize to be taken.
Yeah, he's just burning all these cards so that he doesn't have to, just doesn't have them in the deck anymore. Again, protecting from potentially something like a Rescue Stretcher for a Marshadow. That's really about it.
Shrine to get rid of the Heat Factory as well. Dance of the Ancients for 2 Lightning Energy onto the bench.
It's interesting that he put 2 onto a Rangaroo for some Psychic.
We're going to Psychic.
Yeah? Yeah, I guess that... I think it's safe from any attack from Zach anyway, so I guess it's fine. There's no downside to it. Zach needs to find himself Beast Energy, but even then we know that Caleb's just holding on to the Tapu Koko GX, and Zach can't remove enough energy from his board to get out of range, and even Sky High Claws is enough for everything right now. We're going to see a Wonder Tag from Zach, but it feels like Caleb's going to take a nice late game 2 here to even up their records at 1 game apiece.
And that is going to make things a little bit difficult going into game number 3, about 7 minutes on the clock right now. These haven't been particularly slow games, but they also haven't been fast enough for us to get a full game 3 here.
They've had like slow early games in both situations. Marshadow's just hurt both of them at the same time equally, it feels like. And it's meant that these games have ended up drawing out long, and Caleb using 3 or 4 Jirachis in certain turns has made the game go a little longer.
So Zach, if both these guys end up going to 5-1 and 2 going into round number 9, if they both win, then they should be golden.
Yeah, they're definitely
20
in.
points.
Yes, yeah.
But you don't want to have to be on a win and in.
No.
That's never a comfortable situation.
So Zach going to retreat out of his Naganadel, just saying, well, Caleb, I really hope you don't have that Tapu Koko GX. It's going to be energy switch as well from Zach going onto the Blacephalon. He can take the prize with Mind Blown here. There's still 1 Fire Energy in his discard pile as well. If he can Mind Blown enough energies off his board, is he ever safe from a Tapu Koko GX attack? There's already the Shrine of Punishment, though, so it would force Caleb to have maybe something like Choice Band.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose.
He might be just burning extra energy
here. As much energy as he can.
I think it makes 2 in play is the same as 1 in play in terms of protecting yourself against Tapu Koko GX. And straight away, we're going to see these. Wait, he's just announced the GX attack.
He has. But there's only 2 energy in
Caleb
play
just
for
messed up.
Zach. He flipped the marker. I think that has to stay.
That stands. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I don't believe this from Caleb. He even had Choice Band in hand.
It's only 100 damage.
Choice Band was in hand as well.
Wow.
Oh no.
You're kidding.
Well, that's pretty friendly from Caleb.
That's awfully nice of him.
Wow. That's...
Oh my goodness.
That's just a little bit of overexcitement, and for someone as experienced as Caleb, I would not have expected that from him of all people. But yeah, he flipped the GX marker and all. That's a done deal. Yep. There's the Shrine of Punishment damage going back onto his own Tapu Koko GX, and now it's
150
got to be Zach's
damage,
game.
and if that had been a choice band, then this game would be over. And Caleb would be looking at probably a draw here, where instead now, because he got a little bit ahead of himself, could be looking at a straight-up loss.
Zach doesn't have energy in his hand just yet. Can he close the game?
Good question.
In any other way, he can treasure a card out of his hand in Cynthia and hope to energy. His deck is thin, and there
He's
are
only got
3.
a couple energy left.
Yeah, there's 3 energies. He can't thin his hand any further, so he's just gonna use the Cynthia here. He's got Beast Energy and I think 3 fire. Yeah.
Starting with 16 total energy in the deck.
Yeah, he's had to. That's the thing with Caleb going all non-GX for this amount of time. He's forced a lot of energy to go into the loss zone on each Zapdos, but now Zach is. I believe there's 1 fire energy in his discard pile, so any energy here is game for Zach. After a big rush of blood from Caleb.
I mean, there is still a chance that Zach does not get it.
You don't want to.
Well,
we got to let the judge shuffle that now. Yep.
I'm not messing with this.
Oh boy.
Just had to be the beast energy.
Jeez. Yeah.
Oh gosh, Caleb's got to be kicking himself right now. I mean, that is just. It's just an unnecessary mistake. Like that's the silly stuff you do at home, and it's fine when you're doing it at home. But when you're here, that's just not going to cut it.
There's a beast energy again as well. So there you go.
Oh my gosh.
Game.
A series that should have been a draw if Caleb had just played the choice band that was in his hand. And instead, he got too far ahead of himself. He got too excited thinking he had the game won. Excellently played by Zach in using Mind Blow to remove enough energy so that Tapu Thunder wasn't going to be a knockout by itself. And he's actually going to take this series. Now go to 6-1-1, which should pretty much shore up day number 2 for Zach Lesage here. I mean, that was just a super bittersweet ending to what was a really good series up until that point.